Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. Welcome to Floating in Dreams. Today's video is going to be about my 10 favorite eyeshadow palettes for everyday makeup looks. So let's get started. Welcome to everybody watching today's video. Thank you so very much for being here today. This video is going to be all about my favorite everyday eyeshadow palettes. And before I explain to you what I mean by an everyday eyeshadow palette, let me tell you a little bit about what my channel is all about. I love chatting about eyeshadow palettes, which is why we're in the middle of doing an eyeshadow palette related week, because I love chatting about those things and I didn't want to leave you hanging for too long, because in March I was doing all of my declutters and I sort of didn't do that much eyeshadow palette related content. So I thought we could make up for lack of eyeshadow palette related videos, you could say. Then also I love chatting about Essence and Catrice products, which is why you see those popping up in a lot of my videos. And I'm someone who likes to get the use out of their products, and my makeup preferences just skew a little bit differently from the mainstream because I'm a snow angel, which means I have fair skin that leans more cool to neutral, and that definitely skews my makeup preferences a little bit differently than most people, because I just don't really fall into the standard category that most makeup caters to. So that's why I definitely come at makeup from a slightly different perspective. Maybe you also have a fair skin tone, maybe you also have a cool to neutral undertone, and you are looking for makeup recommendations, then maybe my channel can be a place where we can hang out and chat about those things. Who knows? But yeah, everyday eyeshadow palettes. What do I mean with that? I am someone who works in education, so even though I love making makeup content and I love playing around with makeup, I don't always have the time to do these like Instagram worthy kind of looks. I'm a busy person, I love makeup, but for some reason in recent years I have found that a love for makeup tends to also indicate doing these really elaborate eyeshadow looks that are going to take you like a day to complete, only to wash them off again. So for me, I mean, I'm pretty sure that if you are a makeup artist or if you are someone who just has a bit more time on their hands, that those things are very feasible. But if you're someone like me who has about 15 minutes in the morning just to get ready and do their makeup, maybe you are even busier than that and you only have 5 minutes, you don't need makeup that takes a lot of time to blend. You don't need eyeshadow that is going to take hours to apply before you get a good look. So what I have selected for you today are 10 eyeshadow palettes that I feel have very easy to work with formulas, because that's step one. But also step two, that have quite a no-brainer setup so that you can pretty much blindly apply these to your lids without really having to think about how the colors are going to come together, because you know, you wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning and you have little to no brain space to decide, is this green going to complement this orange? You don't have time for those kind of decisions if you wake up early in the morning and you're trying to get ready for work or school. So yeah, that's where I'm coming from with today's video. So let's get cracking. I have 10 selections for you here today. And you'll see that a lot of the selection I have for you are very small palettes. Case in point, the Colourpop Cream Soda Quad. I have been raving about this quite a bit ever since I tried it over the summer. I think I tried this summer last year and I really fell in love with it. It's just such an easy, very blah color story that you look at and you go like, is that going to do anything for you? But if you're looking for something very perfect for every day that's neutral, not everything I have for you today is going to be neutral though, because I do like a bit of color myself on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, something like this that's very close to your skin tone. This is very close to my skin tone, which is why I like it. But depending on what skin tone you have, find like a quad like this that's really perfect for you, and you will find that it's just going to be very easy to apply. You get 2 mattes in here, 2 shimmers, especially this one is very pretty, a bit more dimensional, has a bit of sparkle running through it. I believe they are somewhere in between like a cream, a pressed glitter, and a metallic shimmer. It's sort of like a combination of the 3, it seems. It's a very different formula, but I don't feel I need a sticky base like a glitter glue to make this stick. I can just go in with my regular priming routine, which is always a double prime. I like to double prime my lids because I got deep set hooded eyes. So you have to do what works for you, yeah? So here we have those 2 mattes, which again, very close together, but perfect for the crease, something to blend things out, an inner corner highlight, and a shimmer for the lid. That's all you need. Another very affordable option that I wanted to share with you is this guy, the Dancing Green eyeshadow palette from Essence. And this I think is perfect for everyday because even though it's a green palette, these are very neutral tone greens. I find that these are the type of greens that you can still get away with on a day-to-day basis. No one is going to look at you and go like, are you wearing green eyeshadow? Because it's not that bright and in your face. These are wearable greens, if you were to ask me. And this retails for pennies at the drugstore. These are like what? 3 to 4 euros? I mean, these are really affordable. I think the green one is my favorite out of the bunch because it has the best formula and the best layout. With the other palettes I've tried from the line, we only have 4 here in Europe rather than 8 that you get in the US. But I felt that some of the color stories were very gray toned. And I appreciate that here the darkest shade is in fact that dark green. You do get a like brown that leans more green toned as a neutral to set up your crease. And then you just have a couple of shimmers, something that's a little less intense to help you set up the look. So this is again, one look in a palette. You just dip, mix and match. You can go a little bit more neutrally if you just go for that neutral brown. Like if, for instance, if all you use is these two, you will have a perfect look for every day. If you want to go more smoky, glam it up a little bit for drinks after work, you just pop this into your bag. It's got a little mirror. It's so easy to use that I think that this Essence palette definitely had to get a mention. But I think one of the best everyday formulas I have found in recent years is the Viseart formula. Now, I personally haven't used the Cashmerie palette yet, but if this is anything like the Violette Étendue and from swatching it, I'm predicting that it will be. This is just such a great everyday color story. This is more of a neutral pick here, but it has a bit of warm tone. And then we have those rosy tones over here. We also get some cool tones, some neutrals. So you get a little bit of everything. And I just like how you can use this as a quad or as a duo. You could just use these 2 shades or just these 2 shades. You could use this entire quad. You can use this quad. Like the way this palette is laid out, the way you're going to dip into this is just going to make for a pretty look every single time. And I think that this is a very good, easy, everyday eyeshadow palette, especially if you're someone who travels quite a bit for work, because it's small, you do get 12 shades, it's got a mirror, and it's super sleek as well. So this is a great little palette, and I believe that these Viseart palettes, if you have a few of them, also have interchangeable shades, so you could potentially pop these out and sort of make your own custom palette if you so wish to. So this is definitely a great alternative, I think, if you're looking to spend a little bit more and you want an even easier to work with formula, because I think that's where the Viseart definitely wins. But again, for everyday, where I do really enjoy neutral palettes, I also really enjoy them if they have a pop of something. And I think a really good like alternative to a neutral palette, but that still has a bit more color to it, is the Natascha Denona Mini Retro. This eyeshadow palette is just, because of those 2 sagey green shades, those are very neutral and very pretty on the lids, but you can go all neutral if you just stick to these 2 and then just add a bit of the green to add a bit more interest. You get a very intense shimmer that's going to give you the texture to really bring the look to a more glam level if you so like to. So this is again very nice, easy, curated. You can stick to just the 2 shades in the same color families. You can use 4 shades, you can use all 5 shades. You have so many options, and every single eyeshadow look you do with this is just going to be foolproof and easy to whack on, because again, the Natascha Denona formula is one that I really enjoy. But OG followers of mine will know that I really always highly recommend this palette to people who are a little bit stuck. If you don't know what to do with makeup, if it just takes up too much brain space, the In Bloom from Tarte is still this day one of the easiest to use, most foolproof eyeshadow palettes on the market. And that all has to do with the way this palette is laid out. Yes, it's neutrals. Yes, this could be boring, you could say. But I find that this palette is just such a great one if you just want to do something very easy. Yes, you get 3 very intense, darker shades, but this you should really think of as 3 different quads rather than a full palette. So you get a warm toned row, you get a neutral row, and you get a cool tone row. It doesn't get any easier than that. The palette just spells it out for you, and you have 4 shades that go together really perfectly. Of course you can mix and match as well. My favorite look to do with this is to put Sweetheart in the crease, then a bit of this Firecracker shade all over the lid, and then I like using some of these cool tones on the lower lash line. That's what I like to do, and Funny Girl is a great inner corner highlight. So you can actually use every single shade in this and like mix and match if you'd like. The way I feel this palette is really meant to be used is if you go row by row and you just have a look every single time. That's going to be looking perfect. Another palette that I feel is a great palette that can be very neutral, but that also gives you some pops of color to play around with, is the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde. This is such a stunning palette. And in here, again, you have a lot of lighter neutrals that if you combine them together, they're just going to make for a pretty neutral look. But you also get these vibrant, more vibrant shades. And then here you get some peachiness and rosiness to skew the palette into, or the look you're doing into, a slightly different direction. The way this palette breaks up for me is in 3 sections. I feel that these 6 shades are a perfect look. These 6 shades make for a perfect look, and these 6 shades make for a perfect look. And if you are someone like me who is quite fair toned, and therefore if you have a lot of dark shades in the palette, like with the Tarte, you don't really know what to do with them because they all translate the same once you apply them, or it just looks like you were punched in the face, then just know that this one is very light because these are the darkest 2 shades you get. And if you cover those up, you can just see how light this palette actually is. And also, if you're someone who's afraid of color, if you just cover up these like really vibrant shades in the bottom, you can just see how neutral toned this is. So I think this is a palette that can appeal to a lot of people. If you want to do very easy looks, you get some more options in this because it is a larger palette. And because of the formula of the Huda Beauty shadows, you get a lot of options to play with some color, but also texture. And I think that this is a great palette that if you figure out how to make this work for yourself, this is another one like with the Cashmerie where you don't have to stick to the 6 shades because, for instance, this is a great quad, but this quad is also great. This quad is also great. So with this, you can really just sort of section it off for yourself and decide the night before, like, okay, I'm going to use these 3 or 4 shades that are very close together in the palette, and I feel you can make a look that will always work. I always love recommending some indie products as well, and I think that the Nomad Cosmetics Land of Fire and Ice is a great option if you want to go for something a bit more colorful than what we've discussed so far. And the reason for that is because the Nomad Cosmetics formula is one that is quite soft and very easy to blend, which is what I prefer. The shimmers in here are not that intense, so again, for every day, if you don't want something that's super foily or glittery, then these shimmers can be really pretty for a work situation, but you do get the option to go like more bright or very warm toned in here, and then you just have these grayish blue tones that pull into a pretty cool toned look. You can deepen things up to make it more smoky with some of the shades in this row. So this is just a palette that gives you a lot of options and that you can just pull into very many different directions. And this shade in the bottom right here, this like bluish purple shade, it looks like a periwinkle in the pan, is so pretty on the lid. And this is again a palette where no matter how you combine things, there's always a look you'll come up with that is just going to look very flattering on. And with Nomad Cosmetics, I have found that if the color story works really well for me, I can pull some stunning looks out of it. So I'm very happy with this palette. But one of my favorite everyday formulas is the Urban Decay Naked formula. However, Urban Decay and their Naked line, they discontinue things so quickly, so it can be very difficult to find. And I think that in recent years, one of their most recent releases that I think can make for a great everyday palette is the Naked 3 Mini. The Naked 3 is also one of my long-standing favorites for sure, but that's quite an old palette, and I feel that this gives me the look that the Naked 3 will give me, but then in a much more curated color story. Granted, if you are much deeper than my skin tone, this palette will not work for you because it skews so light. I mean, this is even worse than the Huda Beauty. It's like 5 shades of mauve tone beiges and then something that's a bit chocolatey brown leaning. But yeah, I really like how you get some rosy tones in here. You get 2 more intense shimmers. One is like a strange satiny shade, and then you have 3 mattes to really build up the look. So this one I really like for every day because again, it's really nice and small and curated. You don't have 12 shades to worry about, like how am I going to put it together? With this, again, you have the 3 mattes you need to set up a basic look, and you have 3 shimmers to complement that basic look. And you can use all 6 shades if you'd like, or use just 2 or 3. I think this is another palette that is great because it's very neutral, and in my case it goes very well with my skin tone too. I feel it never looks out of place. And then with this, today I'm wearing a very bright red sweater, so I'm not wearing anything too bright on my lips. But this kind of eyeshadow and then a bright lip, I think is a great, great work look. I love pairing eyeshadows like this with a bright red lipstick. But in terms of affordability, I also like to throw some things in here. And apart from the essence, I feel that everything is quite out there. However, the palette I'm about to show you is no longer available. But it's mainly for me about the color story here. What am I talking about? The Love in London from Beige Cosmetics is such a great little palette, and I think it's great for every day because you just get everything that you could possibly want. Again, more neutral leaning, but you do get some pops of color on this side of the palette. It has some warm tones here and here, but you also get a really stunning taupey shade. You get a great amount of shimmers in here, which I love. And I love how you could make this very neutral and everyday and like simple and very inoffensive, but you can also make it very dark and saturated. You can go on full on navy smoky if you'd want to. You get some really good like mattes to really set the look up. In terms of like perfect palettes, this is one of the most perfect ones for me for sure. Again, a palette that is very easy to use. However, in terms of layout, I feel the Huda Beauty and the Tarte are easier to use than this one. I feel there's a bit more thought in those palettes in how the palette has been laid out. With this, you do need a little bit more brain space to see which shades go together, because they kind of just put them in there to see what look nice rather than is it going to make it easy to use. So yeah, the Beige Cosmetics Love in London, no longer available, but I think in terms of everyday palettes, one of the best ones that was ever created. And finally, I now realize that perhaps I should have gone for a different palette, but because essentially this is the same as a palette I've already shown you. But the Lime Crime Venus XL2 is one of my favorite palettes for like a very basic eye look that is very inoffensive. This is another palette that is incredibly light, which is why a lot of people didn't like it. It's also very cool tone. So unless you have sort of my skin tone, this may not work for you that well. However, it is also the bigger version of this. It has those sagey greens, it pulls a bit more mint here as well. Then you get those rosy tones that the Natascha Denona has. And then over here you get one of those like green brown flippy shades, some warmer tones, something to deepen things up with. I think that this palette was a little ahead of its time, which is why not a lot of people liked it. I think that if they had released it now, that a lot of people would have been a lot more into this kind of color story, because this seems to be a lot more up people's to people's taste at the moment. But when this was released, the main issue a lot of people had was that the outer packaging is so bright and fun, and then you don't get any of those shades on the inside. I think that that was why most people were disappointed. But if you just judge this palette by what it can give you, and you want soft, neutral with a twist looks, because that's what I prefer my everyday. I do love neutrals, but I love it if I can give it a bit of a twist, so that it is a bit more green tone, but very soft and pastel-y sagey greens, or these more rosy tones. I think that that can be very pretty on a lot of people. So yeah, this is one of my favorite palettes for sure. It's also one of my favorite palettes for this time of year, the springtime. And this is just such a great palette that I had to rave about it again. And if you were looking for a larger Natascha Denona mini retro, and you were disappointed with the release of the midi retro, because that's nothing like that palette, just know that it does exist on the market, but from a completely different brand, and a palette that has been out for a while that nobody talks about anymore. So that's it. Those were 10 palettes that I think are perfect for everyday makeup looks. If you are someone like me who's just a little too busy to be doing these like graphic eyeliners that I see everybody doing on Instagram with like cut creases. Like if you see reels on Instagram, like how long did it take you to do that? Because I don't have time for that in my life. Like I love playing with makeup, don't get me wrong. I love getting creative and like doing different things, but a lot of things that, you know, when it comes to makeup, I also want things to look good on me, and I want to be able to wear things that I can leave the house with. So for me, makeup is very much more of a practical thing rather than a creative, artistic thing. And my baseline for it is, if I can't wear it to work, it's not gonna happen. Can I do a cut crease? For sure. Can I do like these graphic liner things? I think if I really like put my mind to it, I might be able to. It's just that I don't have a lot of lid space. It looks like it always when I film. I'm pretty sure that some of you are thinking, you've got a lot of lid space right there underneath your brow. But that's all brow bone, unfortunately. Like I already mentioned, I have deep creases, deep set eyes, a little bit of a hooded eye, and actually this entire bit of skin is already like sticking forward. So putting any shadow there, it looks very strange. Plus, because I have very deep creases, any lines that I draw become very distorted. So to make them like even, the lines need to be very, very thick for them to show up when I open my eyes, meaning you can draw exactly like one line and that's like your eye look, which is why I never really do those kind of things. My eye shape is just not made for graphic liner. It's just something I found out very early on. So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you so very much for joining me today. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more by me. I make 3 new videos a week, and I still have a couple of these palette week videos coming for you. So if you'd like to stay tuned for more, subscribe to the channel, and then I hope to see you in my next video. Bye everybody, take care.